So I first started smoking at the beginning of 10th grade. Um, my friend had a Stizzy pen. He's the one that introduced me to it. And weeks before this, I had gotten into, I guess you could say, an altercation. In reality, I just got pressed um, by some dudes that said I snitched on them because they were smoking weed. And supposedly one of them said that he seen me go to the office and tell them. He didn't see shit because I didn't even know these fools. But yeah, I guess they just picked on me because I was the smaller guy, the little weakling, you know. And yeah, all this happened, all this shit popped off, and that's when my friend had the pen. So I asked him for a smack, you know, because they would also tell me that going to class, feeling high was cool and shit. Like it felt like they were floating and shit. So I just always wondered what that was, and curiosity killed the cat. But as I took the first hit, I waited for that shit to kick in, and once it did, there's a lot of people that say that they feel paranoid, or that they have bad trips. But for me, it all just felt like, it felt good, you know. I felt like I was normal for the first time in my life. So I hit the pen, all this shit happened, and then a week later, I went to the plug, which here in the U.S. is whoever like sells the weed or whatever substance you're using. So I went to the plug. I asked him for my pen, or I asked him for a pen. He gave it to me for 25. That's what they were going back then. It was a push. I forgot the fucking flavor of it, but it was a push live resin bar. So I took it home. On the way home, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing this, you know. I felt like some type of guilt, because I feel like that's what every smoker goes through when they first start smoking, you know. It's like a guilt, but you know, I fucking, that shit flew right over my head. I took a hit and there was no guilt. I just felt normal and shit. So eventually I forgot about that, and at first I said that was gonna be my only pen. I was like, nah, let me just try it. You know, I'm not an addict. I didn't believe I had an addiction, like an addiction mindset. So I did, and then I got addicted. And yeah, so I would chief it up in my restroom, and after that pen finished, it lasted me about a month, because for any of you who smoke, you know that when you first start, your tolerance is really low. So for me, my pen lasted me over a month, I think. And after that, you know, I was like, nah, this is the last one, like first and last, and then I'm gonna quit. But then I finished it, and I liked the feeling that it gave me, so I just kept on going, buying more and more and more. Long story short, 3 years into senior year, so it was just a couple months ago. I just quit, and I'm here to tell you how that can change your life. It changed mine, and it could change yours too. So I was so bad into my addiction to the point where my parents found out, because I had skipped school with one of my friends, and they found out, you know. They called my mom. They were like, hey, your son isn't here and shit. He skipped. So all that bullshit happened. My mom got called. She was like, what were you doing and shit, skipping? Because she didn't know that I smoked it. So I felt kind of guilty. I don't know if it was because I was under the effects and shit, but I had it hidden under my bed. So I just pulled it out, and I was like, I smoke weed. You know, dumb mistake of mine, because I didn't want my mom to like know, but for some reason I just told her. And 3 years after, I still kept on going. She was like, all right. The first time she didn't get mad, but I got caught like over and over and over. I believe she said she found like around 50 pens on me. And I smoked way more than that. Like I say, about in the span of 3 years, probably 300, 400 pens around there. So yeah, that was a lot. But I came out, I told her that I smoked and shit, and I felt guilty at first, to the point where I told her that I was gonna leave the house. And I did leave the house 4 times. I left. The first time it was because I actually felt guilty, but then the next times, the other 3 times, I just masked it under guilt. But what I really wanted to do was just keep on smoking weed, you know. So I moved to the homie's house. They gave me a place to live while I was, cause I would have been homeless, but they received me and everything. My real homies that I consider them friends, like my ride or dies. But yeah, they gave me a place to live and shit. You know what we would do is, as you can guess, we'd just fucking chief it up all day. So I had the freedom, but there was still something in me that didn't feel like right. I didn't feel good smoking and all this shit. So it wasn't until I was one day in my restroom and I broke down crying, and I never prayed to God. I would look at crosses on the wall, and I would just go like this to God, like, cause I know He's not in the crosses, but He's represented there, like the image of the cross and shit. And my stupid ass would just like look at it and just go like this. So I would blaspheme against God. And yeah, but it wasn't until that point where I was in the homie's restroom and I was showering and shit. And for some reason, I just started breaking down, you know. When I started praying, I was like, I want my family back. Like, this is not the type of life I want to live and shit. So we're doing all types of like bad shit, you know. I broke down in the restroom crying, you know, praying to God, saying, please, like, make my family take me back, because this was the 4th time I had left, and I'm pretty sure they were already like tired of me. So my mom actually came the next day, and she came to the homie's house to pick me up, because the homie's mom had actually talked with my mom, and she told her, you know, where I was staying and shit. So I believe that was God. And ever since then, you know, it took me kind of a while to process it, but now that I'm actually into a deeper relationship with God, I see back then that was Him, you know. Like, I prayed, next day mom came, she got me home, and I didn't stop it there. I actually took my pen with me, because I would hide it in my socks. And my mom would see it right there, and she wouldn't tell me nothing, because I'm pretty sure she just wanted me home, you know. And after a couple of months, she actually started like telling me, hey, you can't be smoking, doing all of this and that. And I would tell her, all right, yeah, I'm gonna stop. And then I wouldn't stop. I would just keep on doing it behind her back. But she got to the point where she was tired of me, and she told me, it's either you leave home or you go into a rehab. And I went to the rehab. Long story short, I went to rehab, came out, didn't stop. It wasn't until a couple months ago, like I said, that I actually stopped. And I'm actually gonna be giving you guys the tips that helped me, so that you can also stop. And the first thing you have to realize is that life is gonna be hard. There are gonna be challenges. I already stopped. There's still challenges. The same challenges I faced back then, they're still happening today. You have to fall in love with the hard work and get out of the pussy mindset of, oh, I can't do anything without my pen, or nothing is fun, or this and that. Life isn't supposed to be fun as a man. Life is supposed to be hard. We have challenges to face. But those challenges, as you quit weed, you'll learn to fall in love with the hard work, and you'll feel good a little bit all the time, like often, like on a straight line, like often you'll feel good, instead of just like feeling, you know, like super good one moment and then going back to feeling like shit, and then super good and then going back to feeling like shit. So that's the first step. You have to learn how to fall in love with the hard work. The second thing is that if you find things boring, or like I said, not fun, learn how to have fun. The way that God hardwired us is that we get, especially as men, our type of fun comes from hard work, not from doing all these fucking bad habits and shit. Like, because if I was to ask you, like, on the day that you did the most degenerate stuff ever, that seems kind of fun, like whether that was fapping, smoking weed all day, or getting drunk, whatever it is for you, you would, in your mind, you know that that's not actually fun for you. Let me put you an example. If I was to tell you about another occasion where you did your work, you know, you stayed disciplined, maybe hit the gym, you would see that that was actually more fun than doing the degenerate stuff that you were doing, like smoking weed and all that shit. So that's the second reason. That's the second step. Not second reason. Second step is that fun comes from the hard work. And third, it was realizing that if I gotta take tea breaks, for any of you who smoke, you know what a tea break is. if I gotta take tea breaks in order to feel high again, because after a certain level, you don't feel high. You're just doing the habit just for doing it because you don't feel normal without it. So if I gotta take tea breaks to feel high again, I realized that I might as well just stay sober. You know, being sober was not as bad as it seemed. If you're a Christian and you smoke weed, going back to God, if you have the Holy Spirit within you, naturally, you know, if you pray and ask God to change your heart, He's gonna change it. And whatever He dislikes, you're gonna dislike. So that's whether that's the bad habits, you know, fapping, all that shit. It's gonna take time. It's not just gonna happen overnight. For me, it took me about, like I said, 3 years of just smoking and smoking. And for the first, like, for a year, I knew that I didn't want to do it, but I still kept on doing it. So it is gonna take time. But you just gotta have the balls, and you gotta have the trust in God, because if you believe that He can deliver you from the addiction, He will. And if you don't have a supernatural force like God or the Holy Spirit within you, you can just maintain your addiction. But for me, I actually see people smoking now and, you know, wasting their lives away, not doing anything productive in school. I see them and it makes me sad, but it also disgusts me because I see myself in them. That's perhaps how people that didn't smoke back then looked at me. But I see them now, they're not doing their work, they're not focused. You know, whatever bad shit that happens, I see them in the restroom, just hitting the pen to try and take the stress away. And I've learned to fall in love, like I said, with the hard work. You gotta have the balls to actually want to quit. There are gonna be days that you're like, fuck, like, I wish I had a pen right now and shit, but the temptations go away. They go away. They might last for a couple of minutes, perhaps a couple of hours, but they go away. It is possible. So you gotta have God, the Holy Spirit, you know, and with that you'll be able to quit. That's how I was able to quit. But it took me a year, so like I said, it's not gonna happen overnight. You just gotta be have the balls. First of all, have the balls to actually quit. Get out of this pussy mindset that you need to have your pen to do any type of chores, because like I said, as a man, you have to fall in love with the hard work. So that's part of having balls, you know, trusting in God that He can deliver you from this. Because I'm gonna give you an example. If you let somebody borrow $100 and you know they're gonna pay you back, if they ask you for $100, you're obviously gonna give it to them, you know, because you trust them. You know that, and the evidence shows that they'll pay you back. But if they ask you for $100 and you don't trust them, you know that they won't pay you back, then you naturally won't give it to them. So that's the same thing with smoking weed. If you know you're not supposed to be doing it and God has put in your heart that you should quit it, you perhaps want to do it, but you don't trust that He'll be able to give you the same happiness or more happiness than what you had before. So you gotta learn to trust God. It's possible to quit weed. It's even possible that you won't have, like, you'll look at it as a disgusting thing, because in your mind probably right now you're thinking like, fuck, but I don't know how to have fun without it and shit, or like I can't do nothing without it. Try it for the first week. Just go without it, you know, have the balls to do it, because it all just goes back to having balls. Have the balls to do it. Quit for a week, and you'll see that after you won't feel super good, like super high, like how weed makes you feel at first, because it makes you feel super good, and like I said, you just go back to feeling like shit. But after the first week, you'll just feel good a little bit, but constantly, you know, it's just gonna be a straight line instead of just like feeling super good and then like shit. So it's all just having the Holy Spirit within you. Naturally, you'll dislike the things that the Holy Spirit dislikes. Like I said, it's not gonna be from overnight. You're gonna have to have the balls and put your trust in God that He can give you more happiness than what the weed can. And it's possible to quit. But if you don't have God, like I said, that supernatural force, you're just going to be able to maintain your addiction. Like I said, I would look at it as life as like, fuck, I'm not gonna be able to have fun no more and shit. But I trusted in God. I quit weed, and I'm not gonna lie to you, there are some days where I feel like shit, but I don't even think about smoking no more. So I learned how to deal with my problems, you know, like a man. And it's possible to actually dislike the habit that you think you like so much or that you love. If you have the Holy Spirit within you, one day you'll just dislike that shit. It'll be disgusting to you. And yeah, it's possible to quit weed. See you guys in the next video.